Well, good afternoon. How are you? Good. I'd like for you to think of yourself in a color. I'm going to give you 4 colors to think about as, just whatever resonates with you. Here they are. Red, yellow, green, orange. Red, yellow, green, orange. Okay? If you are feeling red, raise your hand. Do you feel, put your hands down. If you are a yellow, raise your hand. If you are an orange, raise your hand. And then let's see the greens. Okay. These colors sort of, without having to do the whole assessment, are a bit of a, I would say, a human capital check that you do after you kind of process a long survey of how people like to make decisions, what kind of information do they need, what gets them excited about working in life, and you're assigned these colors. And have you ever done this before? Have you done these assessments? So typically in settings that, just like we have just now, when you ask people to raise their hands, of which you did, there was not an overwhelming color where everybody raises their hand and feels like they're one particular color. In the business of education, we are a sea of green. And by green, that means, as those of you who have done these surveys, we call them sort of a feeler. People who, yes, value compensation, yes, value a quality of life and working conditions and things like that. But the green really represents folks that get into this work who aren't like what I would argue is typical in the private sector or in a sector that requires production of things. Teachers and educators, by and large, don't fall into the reds. I'll tell you, I am a red. And those are folks who like to get to the bottom line. You don't bypass things. I mean, you see the data, you see the numbers, and you tend to act. That's much more typical of sort of executive leadership. They're going to be greens and reds and yellows, and then you have oranges in the middle, and then you get to what they call the feelers who are green. And I'm going to come back to you and explain to you why that's important, because when we think about our human capital strategy, you have to really think about the people who work with children every day. They're not working with widgets, and they're not building laptops, and they're not putting together machinery. They are working, they're people who are working with people to produce smarter, more focused people, right? So it's a different kind of organization. Now, I'm going to come back to the people part of our organization and get you to a little bit of what I was asked to talk about today, which is the Austin area. And for what it's worth, I am going to focus on AISD because it is our district, and I really feel like I know it better. But I'll give you a snapshot of a little bit of what's going on in our state and in our region. Texas has just recently joined the ranks of 2 other states that are now minority states. In our region, we see similar growth and demographic changes, and in Austin ISD, it's even a smaller microcosm of all those things that are happening. And I can talk you through it so you can get a sense of how it's feeling for us in education and why we want to think about the people we hire and how those people can help us get our job done. I kind of think of our work in 2 big categories when looking at human capital. What is our data about the children and families that we are serving? That's a really, really big piece. And then the other piece is about our academic vision. What are we actually trying to get done? What does our community expect from us? And then you have to back that out into who are the right people to then hire to do these really unique jobs. Now, Austin is one of the most dynamic and competitive marketplaces for teachers in our country. We are competing for talent every day, and make no mistake, those surrounding suburbs, they love stealing our folks. I don't care what job, whether they're custodians, bus drivers, or the superintendent. I'm telling you, they are calling and recruiting all the time. We give some of the best experience you could ever ask for, and you are prepared to do things that certain communities could never expose you to. Now, we're still seeing a lot of growth around Central Texas. Our economy, thanks to many of the people in this room, especially our business community, has been very strong in keeping Austin as a community, as a city, a dynamic place for businesses to want to come, families to move to, and for students and families to choose its public school system. Over 85% of our families do choose us as their first choice, and that makes us pretty darn unique. Now, we are unlike our neighbors. We're growing quickly in our demographics. We've seen 6 to 14% growth in numbers like students who are children of color with language learning needs and are economically disadvantaged. And so it means that for us to be successful in our human capital strategy, that we are looking at 3 big buckets. And I'll give them to you. Human resources, educator quality, and then how technology and our systems thinking about linking those people who can be successful with children and our needs, remember our academic vision, our data, to get this work done. So in human resources, we look at recruitment, selection, and the actual deployment of our employees. You want to get more strategic in our business about who goes where, why, and exactly when. Every teacher did not get educated or trained the same way. Some can do things better than others, and you want that match to be pretty specific. Now, we have, it is true, over 12,000 employees, and half of those are teachers. We have a big bucket of other folks known as classified, non-teaching professionals, administrators, but 85% of our business, where our money goes into those 12,000 employees, as you heard from Tom Pazon regarding the general demographics and work of what happens in systems across the country. So I'm going to focus, for the sake of time, on my largest group, which is indeed our teachers. Now, we have a unique situation in AISD. We're one of the big 8s in Texas, but we're the only big 8 district that's actually growing. Right? So our suburban surrounding districts grow too, so it kind of, I don't think people really realize what it looks like out in greater Texas in these big urban districts. But we are growing. And that era that Dr. Pazant talked about of the long-term single career teacher is definitely over. And they're coming to us in all sorts of different ways, alternative pathways and traditional pathways into teaching, but they typically change. And we know that research shows that those people who are the highest quality teachers will do the very best job in getting us the academic outcomes we want for kids. And that, coupled with an extraordinary principal who knows how to lead, adapt, and change with the demographic flexing of the student population, will set that school community up for success every single time.